Hello, 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 and welcome to Crush Cravings Before Diabetes Crushes You. I'm your host, Karen Sammer. I'm a board-certified health and wellness coach, and I'm here to talk to you about how you can prevent the onset of diabetes and other chronic illnesses in your body through lifestyle and nutrition changes. And today, we're going to talk about what happens to your body when you give up eating processed sugar. And by processed sugar, I mean added sugar. I mean sugar that isn't necessary in the food that you're eating. So it's something that's added to the food beyond what is naturally occurring in that. So some of the things that I experienced when I lost 135 pounds is the way I did that. I gave up processed sugar and I took that out of my diet, and that changed the world for me. That really changed everything. And I encourage you to do that too. And I'm going to give you some reasons why that's a good thing to do. So just so you know, the average American consumes at least 300 extra calories from processed sugar every single day. And about 20% of Americans consume over 700 additional calories of added sugar every single day. Do you know what that does to a body? In a week, that 700 calories can increase your weight by a pound. So you could potentially increase your weight by 50 pounds every year, and that's pretty extensive. Now, there are some foods that are pretty obvious when it comes to whether or not they have additional sugar or too much sugar in them. You know, there's your cakes and your cookies and your ice cream and your soda, liquid sugar, liquid death. And there's all kinds of all the sweets, the candies, the granola, things that you would not, that are pretty obvious in their sugar in the content. But then how about the foods that are not so obvious? Like maybe you didn't know that barbecue sauce has a ton of sugar in it, or hot cocoa mix, or matcha powder. So people think that eating or drinking matcha tea is healthy for them, which it is, as long as it doesn't have added sugar. But some of the prominent coffee chains that add matcha powder to their teas or to their smoothies or whatever they serve, very often have the powder has sugar added to it. How about milk chocolate covered nuts? Now you think nuts are healthy, and they are, but when they're covered in milk chocolate and on the package, sugar is the first ingredient, then the amount of sugar that is in those nuts far exceeds the benefit you're getting from the nuts. How about fat-free salad dressing? Fat-free salad dressing is they pull out the fat and they have to replace it with something because a lot of times the fat provides a lot of the flavor, so they replace it with sugar. So fat-free anything actually very often has more sugar in it than its whole fat counterpart. Lemon-flavored iced tea mix, and I think that is loosely named tea because there's probably very little tea in it. There are a lot of flavor enhancers and colorings and preservatives and all kinds of chemicals and very little actual tea in them. And not to mention all of the sugar that goes into make it palatable. And how about chocolate hazelnut spread? Nutella, I think, is the popular brand. Not only does it have tons of sugar in it, but it also has palm oil in it, which is pretty bad for you. It's not sustainable, and it causes all sorts of issues with your cardiovascular system. Children's cereal, the cereal that is marketed to kids is criminal. That stuff is so full of sugar that it's no wonder we have an epidemic of ADHD and behavioral issues in schools these days. Because when a child starts out their day eating a bowl of sugar, essentially, then they have no control over their own behavior. So starting a child out with a bowl of whatever the sugary cereal of the day is probably not a good idea and really sets that child up for failure. Gluten-free brownie mix. So they pull out the gluten and they replace it with things that are sugar-laden. And then energy bars. We think that energy bars are healthy. They're a healthy alternative. Protein bars, whatever they call them. But when you look at the ingredient list, you'll find that there is a substantial amount of sugar in those particular food choices. So definitely there are better alternatives. So I digressed. I just wanted to give you some idea of where you could find some hidden added sugar. But when you do consume too much sugar, you activate your sympathetic nervous system. And what that does, it increases your blood pressure, it increases your heart rate, and it also messes up your insulin levels because it screws up the natural production of insulin. it messes up the natural production of insulin in your body, so that you ultimately become insulin resistant. So when you decrease the amount of sugar that you eat, you also decrease your risk of dying from heart disease, because when you've done that, your blood pressure goes down, your cholesterol can go down, because cholesterol is actually a response to inflammation in your arteries caused by often the overconsumption of sugar. Your LDLs may drop enough to make you healthy, and your triglycerides decrease. Now, those are the things. Triglycerides are the fat globules that float around in your blood that cause mischief when they get caught up in your cholesterol that is attached to your arteries. It causes a blockage, which can cause a heart attack. So your risk of heart disease significantly decreases when you decrease your sugar intake. Another thing you might be interested in is it helps to keep your skin clear. When you decrease your sugar intake, you may not be prone to those midlife outbreaks of acne that you thought were over when you were a teenager. But you find that when you eat a lot of sugar or a lot of refined carbohydrates, that your skin breaks out. And one way to keep that skin clear is by reducing your amount of sugar or refined carbohydrates that you consume. There was a study that was done that they took a bunch of non-soda drinkers and they asked them to drink one soda a day, one 12-ounce soda a day for 3 weeks. When they did that, they measured their inflammatory markers before and after. Their inflammatory markers went up 87% after that 3-week period of drinking only one soda a day. That's pretty significant. And inflammation is the basis of many diseases in our body. So it is, it's imperative that you keep inflammation at a healthy level. Some inflammation is necessary in your body. For instance, when you have a scrape or something, the inflammation is to help it heal. But chronic inflammation in your body is what causes mischief. It causes you to develop all sorts of illnesses and conditions. Inflammation causes arthritis. It causes heart disease. It causes cancer. It causes digestive issues and IBS, inflammatory bowel disease, any number of things that are wrong in your body very often are based in inflammation. And then by reducing your sugar intake, you also reduce your risk of developing diabetes. If you are pre-diabetic and you remove processed sugar from your diet, as I did, when I was pre-diabetic, not only did I lose the weight, but I also reversed my pre-diabetes. And I was no longer in danger of developing diabetes. So by removing the processed sugar from your diet, you significantly reduce your risk of developing a chronic illness like diabetes. Because what happens when you are eating too much sugar, there are fatty deposits that kind of end up around your liver, causing fatty liver disease, interrupting your insulin production, and just generally messing with your pancreas and its work that it has to do. And what that does is it contributes to insulin resistance and ultimately prediabetes and then diabetes. So there was another study that was done, and they determined in that study that if you eat only 150 extra calories or 150 calories of added sugar a day, you're 11 times more likely to develop diabetes. I mean, that's 11 times more likely. That's crazy. So by reducing your caloric intake or your sugar intake significantly, there are a whole host of things that you can reverse. You can reverse, or you can significantly reduce your risk of developing. Another thing that you can enjoy when you give up your too much eating sugar is mood swings will be abated. Mood swings, anxiety, depression, these are all impacted significantly by the amount of sugar that you consume. So when you reduce your sugar intake, you also kind of even out your moods. And I found when I did this, because at the time that I was going through this and I was losing weight and I had taken sugar out of my diet, I was also going through menopause. And I found that my menopausal symptoms significantly reduced. I no longer woke up in the middle of the night in a cold sweat with my heart pounding, thinking that the world was going to come crashing down on me. I was able to sleep through the night. I did not have the erratic mood swings during the day that I had prior to having eaten or given up the sugar. And it had a significant impact on I feel like on my mental health. It's a positive impact. So I think that, during menopause, or if you're premenopausal, where you're starting to get the symptoms, the hot flashes and such, try reducing your sugar intake and see if that doesn't, sugar and alcohol intake, and see if that doesn't help you to keep the symptoms, at least lessen the symptoms if they don't completely go away. When you give up sugar, you also will be able to sleep at night much better, because you're going to be wide awake during the day and being able to function, because you won't have those ups and downs, those crashes, those highs and crashes that consuming too much sugar gives you. And when you have that, the mid-afternoon slump, because your blood sugar dips below equilibrium, then you are much more likely to get sleepy and cranky and all the things. But when you give up the sugar, you don't have those highs and lows. You're on an even keel, and you're able to stay alert and awake and functioning during the day, so that at night you're able to sleep better, and you won't be waking up in the middle of the night with sugar dips, and you're able to sleep soundly and more restfully. And brain fog goes away. So when you are under the influence of sugar is mind altering, whether you notice it or not. It is mind altering, and overconsumption of it over a long term can impact your ability to learn. And I go back to the sugary cereals that kids eat in the morning, and then are bouncing off the walls at school because they can't contain themselves. But they're also not learning very well because their brains aren't working right. So when you are consuming sugary cereals, or just consuming a lot of sugar, ultimately, what happens ultimately is that your brain stops functioning at its top level. And there's a thing called type 3 diabetes it's dementia. So what happens when you overconsume sugar over a long period of time is it impacts your blood vessels in your brain, and they don't function as well as they should. So you're not getting enough blood to your brain. And then what happens is your brain cells start to die off, and that causes you to have memory loss and other dementia symptoms that are pretty severe. And it is now a known disease called type 3 diabetes, where you are impacting your ability to function cognitively by eating too much sugar. So when you stop consuming as much sugar as you may have already otherwise eaten, you get clarity of thought, the brain fog lifts, and you're able to reason much more easily, because you don't have the erratic mood swings that may influence your ability to think clearly. You don't have the sugar dips that cause you to become very irritable and shaky and looking for that next sugar fix. And it's really quite remarkable when you don't have those hunger pangs that would otherwise be there because you have not had a sugar fix in a while. Now, when you do give up the sugar, sometimes it could be unpleasant. I can help you make it a little less unpleasant, but it only lasts for a few days. And then once you get past that first few days where you get the sugar out of your system, the change is remarkable. It is really remarkable. All of the things that I just told you start to come into play. And within just a couple of weeks, your blood work gets much better. And you'll start to lose the weight that you want to lose. And you'll get the energy back that you thought you'd never get back again. And you'll sleep better. And you'll feel better, so that you're going to be nicer to people. You'll be nicer to yourself. But it has such a profound impact on your life. I can't stress that enough. And it does not, I felt like when I went through it, sugar was my go-to. Every afternoon I'd hit that sugar bowl or the candy bowl in the office. And it's kind of funny because when I think back, every month, right around my menstrual cycle, I would get a pimple right at the end of my nose. It looked like a witch's wart right on the end of my nose. And very likely it was because of the way I was eating. Because I have never had a pimple since. Once I stopped eating sugar, which is pretty cool. I didn't have terrible breakouts, but that one spot every single month would come out, and it looked like a witch's wart. It looked like Rudolph the red-nosed reindeer. So if that is important to you, making sure that your skin doesn't break out, which I'm sure it's important to everybody. Nobody wants to walk around with a face full of pimples. But it is just the difference in the way you feel and the way you function in your body, your outlook. Your mental outlook becomes much more positive because you don't have those emotional ups and downs, those highs and lows because of the sugar rush and then the ultimate crash. And it's just remarkable. And that's all I can say. It's remarkable that the way your whole life changes when you do that. And then you're in control. You're in control of everything that you eat. And so every so often I offer a sugar detox program. I call it different things every year, but essentially it's a sugar detox. And people come into it kicking and screaming and not happy about it because they're giving up something that they really love, or they think that they're going to be deprived of something that they really love. But as people start to feel better and get more in control of what they're eating, And not giving in the beginning, it's, it is a bit of a power thing, but ultimately not giving in to the urges in the beginning that ultimately completely go away. And once they get on the other side of that, it just feels so good. They feel good in their bodies. They're energized. They lose weight. They sleep better. They overcome illness. They reduce their risk of illness, of developing illness, and their blood work gets better. So they're proud to go to the doctors and get the blood results that they're hoping for. And giving up the sugar, it doesn't just impact your blood sugar. It impacts your cholesterol. It impacts your blood pressure. It impacts your C-reactive protein, your inflammatory marker. It keeps you from developing a candida infestation. So candida is a yeast that we often think of as a vaginal yeast infection, but yeast can be anywhere in your body and is very difficult to get rid of. And it loves sugar. So by giving up sugar, you are reducing your risk of developing a candida infection or infestation. And because what happens, is candida will take over. It will upset the balance of your microbiome and cause digestive issues and cause brain fog and cause achy joints, cause skin eruptions, rashes or pimples or other types of breakouts on your skin, causes weight gain, causes swelling, causes all kinds of things. But if you don't feed it, it can't live. And so you want to not do that. You want to not feed the beast. And that goes with cancer cells too. Cancer cells love sugar, and everybody's got cancer cells in their body. And the idea is that you want to make sure that your immune system is strong enough to kill off those cancer cells before they take over. And by not feeding that beast, not feeding those cancer cells, and taking other measures to mitigate your risk of letting those cancer cells get out of control, one of the most powerful things you can do is to modify your diet so that you don't feed those cancer cells what they want to eat. You want them to die off or kill themselves. So the bottom line is, when you take processed sugar out of your diet, amazing things can happen for you. And I would like to invite you, if you find yourself to be a person who has a difficult time giving up sugar, you feel hopeless about it because you've tried over and over again and you've always gone back, I encourage you to contact me and make an appointment to have a free consultation. We'll talk about what you're going through. We'll talk about where you want to be, what your dream outcome is, and we'll talk about the way to get there from point A to point B. And whether you decide to work with me or not after that, it's okay, but you'll get some good action steps to start you on your healthy path. So I encourage you to go to my website, yourpoweryourhealth.com, and book a free consultation with me. So you go to yourpoweryourhealth.com/book, and you can schedule an hour with me. And we'll talk about whatever you want to talk about, and we'll get you started on your healthy path. So this has been Karen Sammer, and you've been listening to Crush Cravings before diabetes crushes you. And I look forward to talking to you again soon. Have a good day.